I need to admit something before I go any further. The night Lena asked me to touch her shoulder, I should have said no. Not because it was wrong, not because she forced anything, but because I knew deep down that the moment my hands rested on her skin, something inside me would change. And it did. I told myself it was just kindness, just a favor, just helping my best friend's sister after a hard night. But the truth is, I didn't step back when I should have. And once you stop stepping back, lines disappear faster than you expect. It was a Thursday night, raining so hard the windows of Harper and Brooks' books looked like they were melting. The street outside was empty, just long streaks of water under the streetlights. I was behind the counter counting the register, thinking about my daughter Emma waiting at home with Mrs. Chen. She hated when I was late, said the house felt too quiet without me. Then there was a knock at the door. Soft, careful, not the kind that demanded attention. When I opened it, Lena almost stumbled inside. Her coat was soaked, her mascara had run, and there was something in her eyes I recognized immediately, the look of someone who'd been strong for too long. "Sorry," she whispered. "I just needed somewhere to sit." I should have kept things simple. Coffee, a chair, a short conversation, then send her home. But when she wrapped her arms around herself and winced, I noticed the tension in her shoulders. "Stress knot?" I asked. She nodded. "Feels like someone tied a rock under my skin." And without thinking, I said the words that started everything. "I could help with that." Her eyes met mine, soft and uncertain. "Would you?" she whispered. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about Mark, or my promises to Emma, or the rules I'd made for myself after my divorce. I was only thinking about the way she looked at me. Like I was safe, and maybe I wanted to be that for someone again. But what I didn't realize was this. The moment Lena closed her eyes under my hands, she was about to say something that would make it impossible to pretend this was just kindness. The first thing she said under my hands wasn't what I expected. It wasn't about the knot. It wasn't about the pain. It was a whisper. "You feel different." That's when my stomach tightened. My palms were resting on her shoulders, steady pressure, nothing inappropriate. I'd done this before, with Claire when she was pregnant, with Emma after nightmares. It was just muscle and tension, but it didn't feel just physical. Lena's breathing slowed as I worked carefully along the base of her neck. I could feel how tightly she'd been holding herself together. Weeks of stress buried deep in muscle. "Stephen came by again," she said softly. He stood outside my apartment like he still owned the place. My jaw clenched. Mark had told me enough about Stephen to know the type. Charming in public, controlling in private. "You didn't let him in?" I asked. "No." A pause. But he talked for 20 minutes. About how I'd never find anyone better, how I'd regret leaving. My thumbs pressed into the knot, slow and patient. "You won't," I said quietly. She went still. "You don't know that." "I know what respect looks like," I answered. "And it's not that." The room went quiet except for the rain against the skylight. I could feel her starting to relax under my hands, the tension easing, the walls lowering. Then she said it. "You're better than him." 5 simple words. But the way she said them wasn't casual. It wasn't comparison. It was relief. My hands froze for half a second. "Lena," I warned gently. "I mean it," she murmured. "You ask before you touch me. You stop when I tense. You don't make me feel like I owe you something." Her head turned slightly so she could see me. "Do you know how rare that is?" My throat felt tight. This was no longer just a massage. This was vulnerability, trust, recognition, and when she added, barely above a breath, "I feel safe with you, Daniel." That's when I realized the line wasn't in the touch. It was in the way my heart reacted to hearing it, because instead of stepping back, I wanted to move closer. I should have stepped back when she said she felt safe. Instead, I leaned in. Not physically, emotionally, and that's more dangerous. My hands were still on her shoulders, working slowly, but my chest felt tight. Because when someone looks at you like you're their shelter, it does something to a man. "Daniel," she said softly, her voice half muffled in the face cradle. "Why aren't you remarried?" That question hit harder than I expected. I kept my tone steady. "Because I have Emma." "That's not an answer." "It is," I said quietly. "I won't bring someone into my daughter's life unless I'm sure. And I haven't been sure about anyone." Silence stretched between us. Rain tapped the skylight like it was listening. "That must be lonely." she whispered. Lonely. I hated that word. Because it was true, but I shrugged even though she couldn't see it. Lonely is better than wrong. She let out a soft breath. I chose wrong, she said. For 3 years, I kept thinking if I just tried harder, if I was softer, quieter, easier to love, it would fix things. My hands tightened slightly without meaning to. You didn't need fixing. You don't know that. I do, I said more firmly than I planned. No one deserves to shrink themselves just to be kept. She went very still again, and then she turned her head slightly so I could see one eye looking at me. That's the kindest thing anyone said to me in a long time. My pulse kicked. This wasn't flirtation. It wasn't playful tension. It was two people standing at the edge of something raw. I should go, she whispered suddenly. Yeah, I said. But neither of us moved. My hands were still resting against her shoulders. Her breathing had slowed, but the air between us felt charged now. Daniel, she said, barely audible. Yeah, if I wasn't Mark's sister. I didn't let her finish. Don't, I said softly, because I already knew what she was about to ask. And the worst part? I didn't know if I wanted her to stop. Don't what? She asked quietly. Her voice wasn't teasing. It was careful. I exhaled slowly. Don't make this harder than it already is. I stepped back then, just one step, but it felt like pulling myself off a cliff. Lena pushed herself up slowly from the table. Her hair fell around her face. Her sweater was slightly wrinkled from my hands. And suddenly we were eye level. Too close. I'm not trying to make it hard, she said. I don't want to pretend I didn't feel that. Feel what? I asked, even though I knew. The way you look at me like I'm not broken, that hit somewhere deep. I don't see you as broken, I said quietly. That's the problem, she whispered. The air shifted. She wasn't flirting. She was searching. You make me feel normal, she continued. Like I'm not someone's project, or someone's mistake. My chest tightened. I'd spent 2 years trying to rebuild my life after Claire left, trying to prove I was steady, reliable, safe for Emma. And now here was Lena, looking at me like I was something more than steady, like I was something she needed. I can't be your rebound, I said carefully. And I won't be the guy you run to because your ex scared you. Her eyes flashed. You think that's what this is? I think you've had a hard year, I replied. And I think you deserve to breathe before you make decisions. She stepped closer instead of backing away. I've been breathing alone for 3 years, she said. And it almost broke me. The honesty in that shook me. I'm not asking you to save me, she added. I don't want to feel alone in this anymore. That word again, alone, and God help me I understood it too well. I felt the distance between us shrink without either of us moving. Her hand lifted slightly, not touching me, just hovering. And in that suspended second, I realized something terrifying. If she reached for me, I didn't trust myself to stop her. She didn't touch me, not at first. Her hand hovered there between us, trembling slightly, like she was waiting for permission I hadn't given, or maybe hoping I would. Daniel, she said softly, I'm not fragile. I know. Then stop treating me like I am. That stung because she was right. I had been talking like she might shatter. Like if this turned into something real, it would automatically be my fault. You just got out of a bad marriage, I said quietly. You're still dealing with Stephen. I don't want to be the next mistake. She searched my face. You think I don't know what a mistake feels like? Her voice cracked just slightly. I know exactly what that feels like. And this, she gestured weakly between us, doesn't feel like one. My heart started beating harder. I stepped back again. Space, I needed space. But the truth was, it wasn't space from her I needed. It was space from how badly I wanted to close the distance. I have a daughter, I said, my voice lower now. Everything I do touches her life. I can't be reckless. I'm not asking you to be reckless. She finally closed the gap and let her fingers brush my wrist. Just a brush. But it was enough. I'm asking you to be honest. That simple contact sent a rush through me I wasn't prepared for. Her skin was warm, real, steady, not desperate, not dramatic, just there. I haven't felt safe with someone in years, she continued. Last night, when you stopped when I tensed, when you asked before you moved your hands, that mattered to me. I swallowed. Basic decency shouldn't feel revolutionary. But it did, she whispered. Her thumb moved slightly over my pulse. And then she said the words that shifted everything. If I kissed you right now, would you stop me? My breath caught, because I knew the answer, and I didn't trust it. If I kissed you right now, would you stop me? My pulse jumped under her thumb. Every responsible thought in my head said yes. Yes, stop her. Yes, step back. Yes, remember Mark. Remember Emma. Remember the promises you made to yourself. But my body didn't move. That's not a fair question, I said quietly. Why? Because you already know the answer. Her eyes didn't leave mine. They weren't wild. They weren't impulsive. They were steady. I need to know it, she whispered. I looked down at her hand still resting against my wrist, then back at her face. No, I admitted. I don't think I would. The truth sat between us, heavy and undeniable. She exhaled slowly like she'd been holding her breath for days. That scares you, she said. Yeah, why? Because once we cross that line, there's no pretending this is just kindness anymore. She stepped closer. There hasn't been pretending for a while. Her honesty disarmed me. I had built my life around control. After Claire left, I promised myself no messy entanglements, no blurred lines, no emotional chaos that could spill into Emma's world. And yet here I was, wanting, not casually, not recklessly, deeply. Lena, I said softly, if we do this, we tell Mark. Her expression flickered. You'd tell him? I won't hide from him. I won't sneak around like I'm ashamed. She studied me for a long second. That's terrifying. I know. Good, she whispered. Because if this is real, it shouldn't live in the dark. The word real settled in my chest. She lifted her hand from my wrist, and this time she didn't hover. She cupped my jaw, gently, deliberately. Daniel, she breathed, I don't want safe if safe means alone. And that was the moment I realized something I couldn't ignore. I wasn't just afraid of losing control. I was afraid of losing her. I should have pulled her hand away. I should have said we were moving too fast. Instead, I leaned into her touch, just slightly, enough for her to feel it. Her palm was warm against my jaw, steady but not demanding. She wasn't trying to take anything from me. She was offering something, and that made it worse. Daniel, she whispered, I'm not asking for forever tonight. Then what are you asking for? Honesty. I let out a slow breath. I want you, I said quietly. But I don't want to hurt you. And I don't want to lose Mark. And I won't risk Emma's stability. She nodded like she expected that answer. I don't want to be hidden, she added softly. I don't want to feel like someone's secret. You won't be. Then don't treat me like a mistake waiting to happen. That hit harder than anything else. Because that's exactly how I'd been framing this. A risk, a problem, a potential explosion. Not a possibility. I rested my hand lightly at her waist, testing, giving her room to step back. She didn't. Her eyes softened. You're shaking, she murmured. I haven't done this in a long time. Done what? Let myself want something that could change everything. The bookstore felt smaller suddenly. The rain softer, the world narrowing to the space between us. Then maybe it's time, she said gently. For what? To stop living like you're always bracing for impact. That was the moment something shifted inside me. Not lust, not impulse, permission. I brushed my thumb against her cheek, slow enough to give her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she whispered, You don't have to protect me from you. And that's when I realized something dangerous. I wasn't protecting her. I was protecting myself from how deeply this already mattered. I didn't kiss her, not yet, but I didn't step back either. Her hand was still on my jaw, warm and steady, and I could feel my heart beat against her palm. Daniel, she whispered, if you don't want this, say it. I searched her face for doubt, for hesitation. I didn't see either. I want it, I said finally. The words felt like stepping off something high. She exhaled slowly, relief softening her features. Then why are you fighting it so hard? Because wanting something doesn't mean I should have it. Her brow furrowed slightly. That sounds like something someone told you once. Maybe it was. Maybe it was Claire's voice echoing from years ago. Maybe it was my own guilt, the constant calculation of risk versus stability. I have Emma, I said again, quieter now. Every decision I make touches her life. I can't afford to gamble. I'm not a gamble, Lena replied. Her voice wasn't sharp. It was wounded. I'm not chaos, Daniel. I'm not here to wreck your world. I know. Then stop talking like I am. Silence settled between us. She dropped her hand slowly, and that small withdrawal hit harder than her touch ever had. There it is, she said softly. You're already bracing for impact. That landed, because she was right. I had already started preparing for the ending, for the fallout, For the apology I might someday have to give. Mark. For the explanation to Emma I hadn't allowed myself to picture this working. What if it doesn't destroy everything? She asked. What if it does? She stepped back fully now, creating real space. I won't beg you to choose me, she said carefully. I've done that before. I won't do it again. The fear in her eyes wasn't about rejection. It was about being dismissed. And suddenly the worst outcome wasn't losing Mark. It was watching her walk out that door thinking she wasn't worth the risk. Lena, I said, moving toward her. But this time she didn't close the distance. She waited. And for the first time that night, I realized if I hesitated again, I might actually lose her. Lena, wait. The word came out sharper than I meant it to. She stopped near the door, her hand resting lightly on the back of a chair. Not leaving yet, just preparing to. I crossed the space between us slowly. I'm not bracing for impact because I think you're chaos, I said. I'm bracing because the last time I let myself want something this much, it fell apart. Her expression softened, but she didn't move closer. That wasn't all on you, she said gently. I know. But when Claire left, Emma paid for it too. Not just me, and I swore I'd never let my daughter feel instability like that again. You think loving someone equals instability? No, I admitted. But losing them does. That hung between us. She stepped toward me then. Not dramatic, not desperate, just steady. I'm not Claire, she said quietly. And I'm not Stephen. I'm not here to take something from you. I swallowed. Then what are you here for? She held my gaze. I'm here because when you touched my shoulders tonight, I felt seen. Not wanted, not admired, seen. And when you look at me, I don't feel like someone who survived something ugly. I feel like someone worth choosing. That word hit hard, choosing. You're not asking me to save you, I said. No, I'm asking you to stand next to me. The simplicity of that shook me more than anything else she'd said. No rescue, no drama, no emotional collapse, just partnership. And if Mark never approves, I asked. Her eyes flickered with fear, but she didn't look away. Then we handle it like adults, together, but I won't shrink because it's uncomfortable. The quiet confidence in her voice did something to me. I reached for her then, slowly, gave her time to pull away. She didn't. My fingers laced with hers, and the contact felt deliberate. Grounded, not reckless. Okay, I said, my voice low. Okay, what? She whispered. Okay. We don't run from this. Her breath caught, but neither of us realized, outside, through the rain-streaked window, someone had been sitting in a parked car longer than the weather required. Watching. I didn't know we were being watched. All I knew was that her hand felt right in mine. Steady, warm, certain. Okay, we don't run from this, I said again, like I was convincing myself. Lena searched my face carefully. You're sure? She asked. No, I answered honestly. But I'm willing. Something in her expression shifted. Not relief, not triumph. Trust. She stepped closer until there was barely space between us. I could feel the warmth of her body through her sweater. I could hear her breathing change. If we do this, she said softly, we do it clean. We tell Mark, no secrets. We tell him, I agreed. And if it gets hard? It will, I said. And we don't quit just because it's uncomfortable. She nodded slowly. That's all I needed to hear. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she rose on her toes. I could have stepped back. I could have chosen caution. Instead, I chose her. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't desperate. It was quiet, careful. Two people who had been surviving for too long, finally allowing themselves to feel something. Her fingers tightened in my shirt. My hands rested at her waist, holding but not claiming. And when she pulled back, her forehead stayed pressed to mine. Daniel, she whispered. Yeah? If this falls apart, promise me one thing. What? Don't ever tell me it wasn't real. That hit harder than the kiss. It's real, I said without hesitation. Because it was. Messy, complicated, risky, but real. She left a few minutes later, disappearing into the rain. I locked the bookstore and stood there longer than I should have, trying to slow my heartbeat. Then I noticed something. A car at the end of the street, engine running, lights off, and as it slowly pulled away, something in my gut twisted, because suddenly this wasn't just about Mark, or Emma, or the line we crossed. This was about the kind of man who doesn't let go. And I had the feeling Lena Harper had just decided I was part of the problem.